coming up from Oxford. And who would you rather do it with than the GOAT, Monica Abbott? Nate Gatter with you as well this afternoon from the newly named Bourne Stadium, where Mississippi State has a ton on the line in this game because they are right on the line for hosting their first regional in program history.
Yeah, Mississippi State needs this win to just put some icing on their postseason regional hosting bid.
Mississippi State coming off a big win in the opener of this series on Thursday. Alyssa Faircloth in the spotlight with 14 strikeouts.
Absolutely incredible. She did it in a multitude of ways. The rise ball, the curve ball, the drop ball, and the changeup. She's an absolutely phenomenal from the left side. And the Ole Miss Rebels are going to have to figure out how to handle her.
But Kennedy Bunker stole the show last night in Game 2. A leadoff homer and then a walk-off homer.
Hey, why not just hit 2 home runs? Why hit 1 home run when you can hit 2? Kennedy Bunker is hot at the plate, and we'll look for her to have some really good at-bats today.
This series has gone sort of how Mississippi State's season has gone. The pitching staff has racked up 21 strikeouts, but the offense has gone 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position and stranded 19 runners across the first 2 games. Meanwhile, Ole Miss has struggled with walks in the circle. Mississippi State's resume, as mentioned, number 10 strength of schedule in the country. Only SEC team to play all 8 of their league series against Quad 1 opponents, try to win the series today to strengthen their case for a first regional hosting bid in program history. They'll do it against Emily Boyer in the circle for Ole Miss on her senior day. We talked a lot about Faircloth's performance Thursday, and deservedly so, but Boyer was very good as well.
Yeah, Boyer has been very productive for the Ole Miss pitching staff. She's been the starter and leader. She has some big wins this year against Tennessee. Earlier in the season, she throws a rise, a drop, and a change, but for her, it's really about managing the strike zone and not giving up free passes.
She'll face a Mississippi State lineup that has a couple of thumpers in it. Barbary in the 2-hole and Sells hitting 5th. Both have double-digit home runs this year. But, Monica, it really is all about one thing, capitalizing on opportunities for the Dogs.
Yeah, the Mississippi State doesn't have a problem getting people on base. It's getting them around to score. Way too many runners left on base, and they're going to need Nadia Barbary, their senior, to step up today. She's cool, calm, and collected under pressure, and so we'll see what she can do at the plate.
Ball 1 from Boyer to get us underway. Styles hitless in the series.
There's a nice off-speed pitch from Emily Boyer. The changeup, just the second pitch of the game. It's so important in the SEC to establish that changeup early and being able to establish it as a strike. You want to make sure your opponents are thinking about that change of speed so they can't sit on something.
First base side taken by Yamas in front of the Bulldogs. Dugout for the opening out, and Emily Boyer settles in.
So Emily Boyer, let's talk about her a little bit. She's a right-handed pitcher. She throws a rise, a drop, and a changeup, but she is excellent at the bottom half of the zone. Their go-to combo is that change and drop ball. You're going to see it a lot. Waist and below is where she is dominant. She'll use that rise ball just to change eye levels. There's that changeup again coming in at 55 miles per hour. That one just floats up just a little high.
Barbary, second team All-SEC a year ago. $12 home runs, 22 extra base hits. There was a little stretch there where Samantha Ricketts moved her down in the lineup in the series against Florida just to try to give her a bit of a breather, take a little pressure off.
Yeah, well, Nadia's a senior. She's a hitter that people know, right? Like, she's made all SEC. She's had those big hits. She's had the walk-off hits, and she's been a staple in this lineup and someone that the opponents are circling. So at times people are pitching backwards to her or pitching around her, and she's had to learn how to manage that better.
Thompson at third, 2 down. Those are the kinds of plays that Jamie Traxel wants to see Ole Miss execute at a high level. She has that mantra she always comes back to, simple things done well.
Yeah, Jamie Traxel loves defense. That is her specialty in coaching, and she does an excellent job. She's running through all her athletes through drills, keeping their feet moving, making sure they're not getting flat-footed. She takes a lot of pride in her defensive part of the game.
Zion Romero had a very nice series.
Zion Romero had dealing with a little bit of injury and sickness earlier in the year. Back in the lineup, has been a force since she's come back into the Mississippi State lineup. Trying to add a little bit of extra depth.
Check swing tapper foul, 2-2.
Zion Romero in the very back of the box, her back foot almost on that chalk line there. Just allowing herself a little bit more time to see the ball and potentially deal with that off speed from Emily Boyer. If it's not a pitch she wants to hit, she's got to find a way to be able to react to foul it. We'll look at it right here. Look at that back foot on the chalk line there, making the ball come in farther on the plate. But it doesn't matter for Emily Boyer. She throws that changeup, but the height is right where she needed it. Ole Miss up to bat next.
Alyssa Faircloth allowed just 2 base runners in a shutout on Thursday night in the series opener, struck out 14. Monica, she's got a lot to follow up now in the finale.
Yeah, Alyssa Faircloth is coming in hot, pitching really well. 14 strikeouts in game 1. This lefty pitcher has backed up Peja Gold, but as of lately, she has been the ace that Mississippi State has been calling on.
Meanwhile, for Ole Miss, Maddie George does have her struggles against left-handed pitchers, but she's been swinging a great stick this year.
Yeah, Maddie George has just been an absolutely phenomenal freshman. She has the power, but the thing that I love most about her is it seems like she understands the game. She's very good situationally hitting.
Doesn't it show where we are in softball in 2026 that a 259 average means she struggles against left-handed pitching?
Absolutely. I think some people would be happy if they were hitting 259. I think Maddie George against lefties she's extra focused today.
Kennedy Bunker. You know, since they renamed this ballpark Elisa and Mark Bourne Stadium yesterday before Game 2, Kennedy Bunker has decided she likes it here.
And Kennedy Bunker starting off strong. A first pitch swing against Alyssa Faircloth, lines it back up the middle. This Ole Miss offense looking to make an adjustment from Game 1. Kennedy Bunker leading the way.
Bunker had the leadoff homer yesterday, then the walk-off homer in extras. Here's Mackenzie Pickens.
You know, this Ole Miss Rebels team is a team that brought returners back. You know, they went to the Women's College World Series last year. They had a very magical year, and then they had a decent preseason, struggled a little bit in SEC play, but they have some athletes that know what it means to compete in May.
And to that end, we'll get to see what kind of adjustments they can make today against Faircloth, who frankly dominated them in the first game of this series. Pickens out in front of the changeup, which was devastatingly effective for Faircloth in Game 1.
Yeah, Alyssa Faircloth's changeup is one of the best in the country. She'll throw it in any count. It's helped her rack up 200-plus Ks this season so far.
Ole Miss didn't have a base runner against Faircloth on Thursday until there was 1 out in the 5th inning. It only took 1 pitch today for Bunker to send a line drive back into center. 2-2. Pickens into right. Sells is there for the out.
So Alyssa Faircloth, this left-handed pitcher, she throws in the mid-60s, but it's that changeup that really keeps hitters off balance. She has a 45% whip rate, which is actually leads in D1 currently. She has 200-plus strikeouts on the season, and she does it in all levels. There's that changeup again, 52 miles per hour, and the thing that's so good about it is the level. That's right across the knees to mid-thigh. She places it really well. Some people can throw changeups well. Some people can throw changeups and put them on a location, and that's what Alyssa Faircloth does.
Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes on Yamas, who is hitless in the series. Seems like that's how it goes. When you come in 0 for 6 to the finale, then you're in an 0-2 hole right away.
Absolutely. They're going to keep trying to get you out in almost the same way until you prove that you will make an adjustment, until you prove as a hitter that you will do something different. And Percy Yamas is one of those hitters that was in the World Series last year. She had an excellent year. She's been a leader offensively for them throughout this season as well. She has the ability and that X factor. She has that clutch mindset. So even when she's 0 for 6, as a pitch caller, as a pitcher, as a defense, you still know, hey, it's Percy Yamas coming up to the plate, and I got to make sure that I'm on it throwing good pitches. I don't want to make any misses here.
1-2. Faircloth, the transfer from Troy, where she was second team All Sun Belt last year, but she's taken her game to a whole new level. Nearly 11 and a half strikeouts per 7 innings. And there's her first strikeout today.
Yeah, just a beautiful pitch on the outside corner from Alyssa Faircloth. This lefty-lefty combo is absolutely dirty, especially when you throw a curveball like that. First strikeout for Faircloth.
Maddie George looks at the curve for a strike. Not only does Faircloth have the strikeout stuff, but she also is so efficient in striking out nearly more than 4.5 batters for every walk, which is a trend across this entire pitching staff for State, that they rack up the Ks, but they do it while avoiding free passes.
Yeah, anytime you can avoid putting people on base, especially in today's day and age with that tight zone behind the plate, it's really impressive. And it means they're just attacking the zone. They're getting ahead early. And when they get ahead early, things like that happen. 2 strikeouts for Alyssa Faircloth, and Mississippi State's rolling.
Regional in 6 chances under her tenure as head coach. Went to the program's first and only super regional in 2022. And with that resume, trying to accomplish a new first for the Bulldogs, hosting a regional in Starkville for the first time ever. They would probably need a win today and then at least 1, maybe 2 wins in Lexington in the SEC tournament, but certainly it's a possibility.
I think the biggest thing when you're talking about hosting is that you've put yourself in a position to be considered, and then let your numbers and your game be tell the committee, like, hey, we're competitive. If your athletes are showing up day in and day out and can do the job, that helps.
Haven't gotten a lot of help around the country, whether it's Oregon or Oklahoma State or any of the teams they were hoping might slip up a little bit around them.
Yeah, there's been a lot of good softball this year across the country, so it's very competitive to be able to host a regional. People want that home field advantage, not have to travel, not have a short week with the travel days and all the other things that go on, the media, the practices, the end of season, things that go on prior to that first week of postseason play. The interesting thing about Mississippi State in their postseason is they don't really have a lot of bad losses.
Troutman into center. It's well hit, but not well enough. Malvin on the track for the first out.
Malvin did a good job, took a great angle to the wall.
Here's Kiara Sells now. Mississippi State looking for its first base runner. You mentioned that the Bulldogs don't have a bad loss. Their only quote-unquote bad loss is to Belmont, and that was facing Maya Johnson, so there's no real shame in that.
Yeah, only one bad loss. Technically, it's Belmont, which is Maya Johnson, one of the top pitchers in the country right now. I think she's top in ERA, top in strikeouts. She's absolutely incredible. Another left-handed pitcher. She did receive the USL Golden Ticket, one of the first mid-major athletes to do so. So when you're looking at bad losses for Mississippi State, it really isn't one for them. They have some top 25 wins against Clemson, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, and Arkansas. They've had a really tough SEC schedule, as you mentioned.
They're the only team in the league to play 8-for-8 quad one opponents in the SEC.
It's a nice pitch from Emily Boyer. A little curveball on the outside, continues to move across the plate and away from Kiara Sells' bat.
Sells takes just time, maybe even a little flinch from Emerson Addison, our home plate umpire, but he did not pull the trigger.
Wow, you know what? I'm just going to say it. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that was not called strike 3. I do know one thing. Sells will not watch that pitch again.
That one's low, ball 4. First base runner for the Bulldogs is a Boyer walk. And it's a theme to keep an eye on in this series, and today, how many walks Ole Miss tends to give out relative to Mississippi State's pitching staff, which issues very few.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about walks, it is important to note that some walks are not bad. You have to pitch around, it's situational, you pitch around hitters that might do some damage. But in this case, there's been quite a few that Emily Boyer has to do a better job of, and she's been currently really improving, so let's not forget about that. She's been improving and doing a better job of keeping people off base and eliminating those free passes.
Paige Ernstitz takes to even the count, 1 ball and 1 strike. Bottom part of this order where Mississippi State needs to see a little bit of a lengthening of the lineup. At the same time, as frustrating as it's surely been for State at times this year to leave as many runners on as they have the kind of pitching that's going to keep them in any and every game in the postseason. And a little bit of timely hitting, even if they've struggled to find it, timely hitting could take this team a long way.
Yeah, and this would make me as a hitter confident. Like, hey, even if I'm struggling, all I got to do is I just need to raise my focus level, try to shorten up at times, to take better swings, just to find a way to get on base, because putting the pressure on the other team is important.
We welcome those of you joining us on the SEC Network. Nate Gatter, Monica Abbott, our entire crew here in Oxford, where Mississippi State and Ole Miss are scoreless in the rubber match of this rivalry series. Ole Miss trying to snap a 3-series losing streak to the Bulldogs. Ernstitz into right for the catch of the second out by Applin, who nearly got Sells too far off of first base. Mississippi State, meanwhile, Monica looking for a resume-strengthening series victory that would position them even better to try to be on the right side of that 16 line and host a regional.
Yeah, Mississippi State definitely needing a win here to continue to boost their resume and give them a chance for that regional hosting job. They're currently split in this series, so finding a way offensively to push runs across the board. They don't have a problem getting people on base. They're getting the runners on base by walks, singles, even sometimes doubles, but getting them to score, being a little bit more clutch at the plate with runners in scoring position is definitely the focus for Mississippi State today.
Sells it first, 2 outs for the catcher Des Rivera. Bouncer to the left side, diving play in the hole by Reisner, but she has no option, and Rivera has her 3rd hit of the series.
Yeah, Cassie Reisner, good job saving this ball, but just not enough time to get up and make a throw to get out Des Rivera at first base.
First hit of the game for Mississippi State. 2 on, 2 out. And it sets up the kind of at-bat we've been talking about for Kinley Keller, a freshman with an RBI opportunity.
Yeah, for Mississippi State, it's about being better with runners in scoring position. They have a runner on second base with 2 outs. This, as a hitter, is where you got to raise your focus, play a little more free, look for the pitch that you can drive through the infield. On the same note, Emily Boyer has to settle in a little bit and continue to throw that bottom half of the zone with her drop ball and changeup, keeping these hitters off balance. There's the changeup, such a beautiful pitch. I love how that just drops off the table right across the knees, but the catcher is catching it at the ground, just falling out of the zone.
To third, handled by Thompson, and Ole Miss gets out of the inning. The Bulldogs put 2 on, they leave them both out there. Home second is next. Senior Day in Oxford, and this senior class has been a big part of this season for the Rebels on both sides of the ball. A team that lost a lot off the World Series group last year. Jamie Traxel has talked about that. Part of it is just the reality of the sport in 2026, how much you have to rebuild your roster year to year in the portal, but nonetheless, a senior class that has been impactful.
Yeah, absolutely. Then, Ole Miss made the Women's College World Series last year, so they do have some athletes that were there last year that can be competitive, but this senior class definitely a lot to be proud of. Not only a World Series, but a brand new stadium that they got to open and even name last night.
Cassie Reisner leads off the second for Ole Miss.
The stadium is now known as the Lisa and Mark Bourne Stadium here in Ole Miss.
And in some ways, it kind of encapsulates the growth of the sport in this state and across the country, that Mississippi State is playing the best softball it's ever played in its program history under Samantha Ricketts. And Ole Miss is playing at a level that it never has, having gone to the World Series last year, opening a $32 million ballpark, getting this support. And Elisa and Mark Bourne, for the record, not even Ole Miss graduates, not softball people. They came to the sport naturally in the way so many have over the last few years and decades as this sport has exploded around the country.
Yeah, and the explosion has been so great for at all levels. So yes, you see it in college, you see it in these stadiums, you see it on TV, but the better coverage and the more talk we see on social media, it trickles down to every facet of the sport, whether you're a 5U T-baller or a professional playing.
Reisner down the left field line, and a foul ball despite the pursuit of Grassel. But these kids have a lot of respect for the players who built these stadiums, metaphorically at least, and I get to see that every weekend when we go around the country, Monica, and you go down to the dugouts and get one photo request after another. I think you're on just about every player's Instagram the Monday after an SEC series.
Well, it's an honor. These athletes, a lot of them may have watched me play, and I take that seriously to be someone that they looked up to. You see Alyssa Faircloth here, a power lefty with a great curveball, a good changeup, a good rise ball, an excellent pitching coach that, I battled against Coach Taryn Moat, who's now the pitching coach at Mississippi State. So there's been and also was a teammate with her professionally. So in some ways, the softball world is really small, but in other ways, there's this great opportunity for these athletes because they've seen the professional. They know what it looks like.
Reisner to third. Barbary, long throw, gets the opening out of the inning. And you mentioned taking that seriously. I think a lot of the players take their role in that seriously too, right? On rare occasions when Monica Abbott comes to town, they get to be the fangirl who's taking the photo. Many more times, they're the big hero player and little girls are coming up to them wanting pictures and autographs, and they always make the time.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it trickles down on all effects, and people are so excited about about softball. Softball has very vibrant fans that follow athletes, follow teams and careers, and it's fun to see them grow into those college athletes or those professional athletes that one day they might be. The
Great
dream,
crowd.
You know, it reminds me of the Billie Jean King quote, if you see it, you can be it. And I think that's very prevalent in this sport as softball has continued to grow.
And you would think that's there are a lot of little girls across this state, around the conference, around the country, who are getting a chance to see it and are thinking about being it.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm a little girl, I'm dreaming of playing in the Women's College World Series.
2 balls, 1 strike on Applin. Faircloth allowed a base hit to Kennedy Bunker on the very first pitch in the first inning. Since then, she has mowed through the Rebels, just as she did in the opener when she allowed just 2 base runners, struck out 14 in her second 7-inning shutout of the year. Applin waves and misses. That's 3 punch-outs for Faircloth.
Yeah, Alyssa Faircloth is just settling in so nicely with this backdoor curve on the outside corner. It starts a ball to 2 balls off the plate, but then comes back in for that strike. It's so enticing for those right-handed hitters, thinking that it's going to come back middle. One thing that I love about Alyssa Faircloth and how well she's doing right now is just the level of her pitches. That curveball is straight across, you know, upper knee, mid-thigh. And when you have a good height on your pitches, it separates the zone better when you throw the rise ball, or you're able to tunnel with her changeup.
One ball, 1 strike on Tenley Grisham.
It's when pitches start to leak over the middle of the plate or leak high around the waist, that's when pitchers get into trouble. So the height and the level of pitches is so important.
Grisham stabs at it, but misses. 2-2.
That's a good idea from Grisham, trying to show bunt. That lefty versus lefty combination is really hard for left-handed hitters, especially when the lefty pitcher has a really good curveball like Faircloth has.
Bouncer to second. Romero retires the side. A 1-2-3 inning for Faircloth. She's put down 6 in a row. Still scoreless after 2. Mississippi State got the win on Thursday. Ole Miss equalized last night. It's been the Mississippi State pitching staff dominating for the most part, but struggling offensively with runners in scoring position. And as we talked about at the top of the broadcast, Monica, the stakes for the Bulldogs could not be a lot higher. Yeah,
Mississippi State needs to put some icing on their resume, their postseason resume, because they want to host a regional. Having the advantage at home, that first part of postseason is so important. It helps you manage all the postseason things that start to come about. And in a very competitive softball landscape right now across the country, it seems that any team playing at home is going to have a good chance to advance.
No balls and 2 strikes on Greta Grassel.
Mississippi State has some top 25 wins against Clemson, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, and Arkansas. They have 1 bad loss against Belmont, which, Nate, as you were mentioning earlier, can you really consider it a bad loss when you're facing one of the top 3 pitchers in the country in Maya Johnson?
Grassel off the end of the bat, Riesner from shortstop for the first out. I have a couple of thoughts on that. First of all, not that bad to begin with, right? And Belmont's been like mid-40s in RPI for the most part. Every other Mississippi State loss is top 25 in the RPI. Secondly, especially when you have a mid-major team, I wonder if there's a way the committee could say, here's Belmont's RPI when Maya Johnson is pitching, and here's when she's not pitching, because Maya Johnson is just her own thing.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely be an interesting stat for everyone to see.
In the left field,
I want to know that.
Styles flies out to Grisham, 2 down. Don't think she's or Belmont sneaking up on anybody in the postseason this year if they're there in a regional, though.
Yeah, but I know this. If I'm hosting a regional, I am not wanting to see Maya Johnson and Belmont in my regional.
Nadia Barbary now, grounded out to third her first time. Takes down and away for ball 1.
Yeah, Nadia Barbary is a hitter for the Mississippi State lineup that is a senior and has people know about her now. So she's at times struggled this season trying to figure out how to get good pitches to hit, because now people are pitching around her. They're pitching from behind. They're strategically targeting her and figuring out, like, hey, we do not want Nadia Barbary to be the person that is going to beat us today. So as a hitter, she has to figure out, how do I take all those factors and let them play into my advantage?
Especially with this lineup, because, again, not to be disrespectful to anybody else in it, there are 2 clear top dogs, if you will. Barbary in the number 2 spot and Sells hitting 5th. So you can sort of pick your battles against those 2 and try to get your outs elsewhere.
And honestly, it's almost an advantage defensively because they are spread out by several hitters. You have Nadia Barbary in the 2 spot today and Kiera Sells in the 5th spot. So because there's a big break in that area, you can be a little bit more aggressive. You don't have to worry as much about setting people up because there's plenty of opportunity for no one to be on base when they come to the plate.
Two balls and 2 strikes. To third base, Thompson another chance. She's been busy in the early innings. It's a 1-2-3 frame for Emily Boyer. We'll visit with Mississippi State head coach Samantha Ricketts after this. And it's our turn to chat with Mississippi State head coach Samantha Ricketts. Coach, the offense trying to get things going, had a couple on in that second inning. What do you want to see adjustment-wise against Emily Boyer?
Yeah, I mean, she's a great pitcher. We know she's going to throw hard, mixing her off speed, and we just need to do a better job at committing to a plan, especially early the counts off of her, not letting her get too far ahead.
Coach, let's talk about your lefty out there. You know we love some lefties. Alyssa Faircloth, 14 strikeouts in game 1. She's got 3 on the day so far. What do you like about what she's doing today and your pitching staff?
Yeah, I mean, Alyssa, she's going to compete. She's going to go out there. She's confident. She's going to mix pitches. And she just really does a great job of keeping us in games. And I love the way she's attacking the zone right now and continuing to mix in that changeup.
Coach, if Ali Supan behind you is any indication, your kids are still feeling pretty loose today.
Yeah, they typically are. I can see the pony out of the corner of my eye.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you. Hail State.
That's impressive focus, and I think we heard the reaction when she turned around to her players. That is great.
That is fun.
And I'm told we have some fun facts for you on Pony the Unicorn, the scoring celebration for the Bulldogs this year. Anna Carter was the first one. She was the originator, and Allie is in charge, as you saw, of keeping the pony. And it's a pony kind of day. It's Derby Day, so the pony had to be out even for the interview.
There. Now that makes even more sense. I like what you did with that, throwing in the Derby. Came to be during the fall talent show. Always some good team bonding during those fall activities.
It's a lot of pressure before a fall talent show, I would think. You know, all your teammates are going to be watching. That's, you know, especially for the freshmen, you got to have something good.
Yeah, you gotta make it good. You gotta be funny, but also entertaining.
Grace Thompson to shortstop. It short hops into Stiles, who makes a nice play. That's 7 in a row, retired by Faircloth since the single for Bunker on the first pitch.
So Grace Thompson just kind of gets this off the end of their bat, but Morgan Stiles doing an excellent job not sitting back, charging the ball, going down with one arm and making a throw on the run. Excellent defensive play over there at shortstop by Stiles.
Now it's the number 9 batter, Taylor Malvin. Bunts it foul for strike 1. Malvin, a senior out of Buford High School, one of 3 former Buford Wolves on this roster, 2 in the starting lineup, Madison Pickens the other. Off speed for strike 2.
Yeah, Faircloth just dominating against lefties today. Coming into this game, she has a .168 ERA versus left-handed hitters alone. And there she goes again, just dropping her ERA against lefties. Taylor Malvin with the strikeout on this changeup. Just a beautiful pitch that drops off the plate, moving away from the left-handed hitters.
Look at those rankings for this pitching staff.
You know, one thing that's really impressive that I see when I look at this as a pitcher is the K's looking. I think that not only shows the consistency and the ability of the pitchers with their great pitches, the changeup, the curveball, hitting their locations, but it really shows an attribute to the pitching coach and how they are spreading the zone against hitters with those pitch calls.
Quickly 0-2 on Bunker. And there is that pitching coach.
There she is, Coach Taryn Moat from the University of Arizona, has some professional experience as well.
And she's churning out professional pitchers now from her staff at Mississippi State.
Yes, yes she is. She's done an excellent job with her pitching staff this year. She told me earlier that she loves that she has a little bit more of a dynamic pitching staff as Alyssa Faircloth goes against strike 3, not with her dirty changeup, but going high and up in the zone, just spreading it big. Strike 3.
Postseason resume themselves, just 3 wins against the RPI top 25, but again, kind of like we talked about with Mississippi State, just not many bad losses on this resume. Number 2 strength of schedule, and you would think they should be positioned pretty well despite a poor record in the SEC to get at least a spot in a regional, maybe a number 2 seed.
Yeah, you know, they had a really good preseason, but then going into the SEC, they've just struggled. They're down, ranked 13th in the SEC. They have some top 25 wins. The most notable would be Tennessee at the top. They beat them twice at home, so that's a really important wins there for Ole Miss. They did beat Mississippi State yesterday, but they have a few bad losses on their schedule. You can see Boise State, Cal State Fullerton, McNeese, and Missouri State.
Romero grounds out to second on the very first pitch, down in the zone, and that's one of the places Emily Boyer likes to go with her 0-0 pitches. I'm going to show you the map of those first pitches. What does this say to you, Monica?
Yeah, this is Emily Boyer's heat map on her pitch frequency. This means that Emily Boyer is not going to throw top of the zone. She's going to be, I'm going to look down, 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 waist and below. You could probably even look mid-thigh and below, and you want to drop barrel. You want to stay in your legs so that your barrel can get through the bottom half of the zone. Emily Boyer is going to ground people out. She's going to throw changeups, bottom half of the zone. You can eliminate the top half as a hitter, but that is how she is successful using her defense.
2 balls, no strikes to Taylor Troutman. DP in the cleanup spot. A couple of freshman cleanup hitters in this matchup, though Troutman a redshirt freshman.
You know, every year there's some standout players that are freshmen with it across the country, and I think it's no secret that the SEC has quite a few good freshmen this year. Troutman has been one of them that has stepped up for Mississippi State with some big home runs as a pinch hitter. Maddie George for Ole Miss has done really well as well.
Emily Boyer's second walk. She pitched around the first one back in the second inning when she allowed a couple of dogs to reach base. And it looks like Samantha Ricketts is going to use a pinch runner for Troutman here in the fourth with Kiara Sells coming up. Pinch runner will be Carson Smith. The SEC softball tournament gets underway Tuesday at 1 Eastern right here on the SEC Network, live from Lexington. Coverage begins with SEC Now at 12:30. All games for the tournament are available to stream on the ESPN app. So Smith, the freshman, is the pinch runner at first with one away in this fourth inning, and Sells coming to the plate.
Cara Sells is another one of those hitters that Mississippi State often relies on. Her and Nadia Barbary have been the cornerstones of this Mississippi State lineup.
Sells had her team-leading 14th homer Thursday night, provided the entirety of the scoring in a 1-0 Bulldogs win. Started her career as a Mississippi State walk-on.
Pretty impressive to be a walk-on and then work your way to being an everyday starter. Coach Samantha Ricketts said that she was actually trying to get Kiara Sells to go to junior college instead of being a walk-on so that she could get some experience.
Frozen by the Boyer off speed, her second strikeout.
Wow, look at that changeup on the off speed. Perfectly placed and a great bounce back from Boyer after the walk to Troutman. That's a big time pitch from Emily Boyer.
So now Paige Ernstis. Off the end of the bat into left. Grisham to retire this side. Another runner stranded for Mississippi State. We're halfway home in a scoreless game. 0-0, just a hit on the board for each team here at Elisa and Mark Bourne Stadium. And Alyssa Faircloth, who has settled in beautifully since a leadoff base hit for Kennedy Bunker back in the first inning, will go back to work for the Bulldogs. She has retired 9 in a row with 5 strikeouts.
Yeah, Alyssa Faircloth has been picking up right where she left off in game 1, 14 strikeouts in game 1, very impressive, and then just working her butt off here in game 3, 5 strikeouts, doing it all in every way, changeup, drop ball, rise ball, and of course that lefty curveball we know and love.
Pickens, Yamas, and George, 2, 3, and 4 for Ole Miss. Mentioned Pickens in the last inning and called her Madison by accident. That's her sister who plays for Louisville. That's why you don't do ACC and SEC games. You know, you got to keep them separate.
Hey, they're an athletic family.
They are.
Both parents should be very proud. Both daughters playing collegiate softball.
Pickens had a fly to right her first time. Quickly down 0-2. Mentioned Mississippi State has been churning out the professional pitchers these last few years. That's continuing this year. To short, an awkward hop knuckling to Stiles, but she retires Pickens to start the inning. Peja Gould, who started for Mississippi State in Game 2, got one of those 17 AUSL Golden tickets. You would think Alyssa Faircloth is a strong contender for one next year.
Yeah, Alyssa Faircloth definitely. I think there's a lot of people that are going to keep their eye on her for a professional opportunity as she develops into her senior year.
And as the professional pathway becomes a bigger part of the college game, you would think that's something that Mississippi State then can use in recruiting as well. It's something that's prevalent in other sports where the professional pathway is a huge part of what you're looking for in a college program. Does this coach or this staff have a track record of developing pros at my position? And that can start to be part of the conversation now in softball.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that's been kind of fun to see with those AUSL Golden tickets. You know, the excitement that they create for those tickets, guaranteeing that they will be drafted in the draft for AUSL, coming out, the social media, just the general conversation, making it more of a thing. You know, drafts for professional leagues years ago, they were barely talked about, barely broadcasted. The only people following it were the pros themselves. So it's good to see just creating something for it. And hopefully seeing more and more rounds and opportunities as the professional league continues to develop.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Percy Yamas, who struck out her first time. And strikes out again her second. A half dozen punch outs for Faircloth, who's retired 11 straight.
Yeah, Faircloth with the backdoor curve to Percy Yamas. That lefty-on-lefty matchup is so tough, and Alyssa Faircloth taking full advantage.
Faircloth has struck out 20 in the series in 10 2/3 innings.
You know, I think when you look about the lefty-lefty matchup on the curveball here, from a left-handed side, the ball starts to break away from those left-handed hitters. And what happens is their hitters' front shoulders, especially just a left-handed hitter and not a slapper or someone that's a multiple run type of hitter, is their front shoulder right here starts to fly out as the curveball breaks across the plate.
That was pretty impressive with the telestrator. I got to say, time was of the essence there.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I got a little love for lefties for obvious reasons.
Faircloth has been ahead of all 3 batters 0-2 in this inning. If she hadn't given up a very first pitch single to Bunker back in the first inning, she'd be on perfect game watch again, the way she was when she went 4 1/3 perfect on Thursday night.
Well, on Thursday night, she tied her career high of 14 strikeouts and had the opportunity to break it in the 7th, but did not. Faircloth has had 14 strikeouts in multiple games this season. Still looking for that infamous number 15 in one game.
Wow, just missed.
I know, another beautiful pitch. Look at that smile from Alyssa Faircloth. She knew. She's like, oh, man. That could have been the one. Mississippi State does lead the nation in strikeouts looking.
I don't know who that gentleman is. I don't know his name, who he's related to on the team, but he's staying at my hotel, and he was in the lobby when I was checking in. I can tell you the umpire can hear him. He's got a loud, projected voice, so he's making himself heard.
Well, I mean, I think he's making himself seen, too, looking over the sunglasses at the zone, making sure everyone knows.
An 8-pitch battle between Faircloth and George, but Alyssa Faircloth wins another. A dozen straight Rebels have gone down, 7 of them via the K. Regular season, but we've got plenty more softball. Conference Championship Week coming up across the ESPN networks. We'll have the selection show First pitch pop up by Rivera. First baseman Yamas puts her away. And then, of course, we'll get into the postseason with regionals just a couple of weeks away. Not even 2 full weeks from getting regionals started across our ESPN network. Supers and the Women's College World Series starting May 28th. The best time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm excited. Postseason softball is so fun. Everyone looks forward to this every year. I think every softball fan marks it on the calendar. Maybe you've watched one softball game all year, but you're all of a sudden going to be watching all of collegiate softball postseason because of how fun it is and the great coverage and just the intensity of the games.
And it's one of the marks of any great college sport, especially as it becomes a cultural institution, is having that great postseason that welcomes in even the casual fan. Think about how many people don't watch much, if any, college basketball all year. When March Madness rolls around, they're going to be watching. I think it's the same thing with Mayhem.
Yeah, absolutely. Mayhem is such an appropriate word because we all go a little bit mayhem for college softball.
Kinley Keller takes ball one. Tell you what, as much as we praise Alyssa Faircloth, Emily Boyer has been very, very good in this series. She's worked 11 1/3 innings now, allowed just 1 run, and somehow she has a loss on her record and right now would have a no decision.
Yeah, I do think that she's been overlooked a little bit. She just does a really good job mixing speeds. And we talked about the changeup from Alyssa Faircloth, but the changeup from Boyer is almost tougher to hit because she throws harder. Boyer can throw 70 and above with that drop ball on the bottom half of the zone, but when she tunnels that changeup in at 55, 58, 59, that is a huge change of speed that a hitter has to deal with.
Keller fouls it away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Which lineup will have the breakthrough? Just 2 hits in this game, 1 each team, both singles. Boyer has walked 2. Faircloth has not allowed a free pass. Down the left field line, well hit by Keller to the foul pole. It is on the wrong side, a foul ball. Kinley Keller nearly had her 3rd home run as a Bulldog.
Impressive piece of hitting there. Keller just pulled that drop ball, dropped barrel on that inside drop. Let's see what Boyer comes back with.
Right side, a base hit. Keller the other way for the 2nd Mississippi State knock. Don't forget, number 25, Florida, number 15, Oklahoma, with game 2 of a 3-game baseball series tonight in Norman. We'll have it for you right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. 1 on, 1 out, and the number 9 batter, Greta Grassel. Samantha Ricketts really likes the way that Grassel's been coming on these last few weeks. Said maybe even could be in some ways the next Kiara Sells, the next Morgan Bernardini, who didn't get to play a lot early in their careers, but play a big role as they get more and more experienced. That one's well hit, but Malvin there for the 2nd out. It is remarkable, some of the development that Samantha Ricketts does in this program and how important players can be, in particular Sells and Bernardini, good examples after very little time as underclassmen.
Yeah, I think development is a really big part of college softball and youth softball, but I think when we look at this staff in the world of the transfer portal, in the world of athletes coming in ready to go, how they develop really shows the testament of the coaching staff. And development is in a lot of things in college. It's in the mental game, it's in the confidence building, it's in the human, it's in the person themselves, but it's also in the softball skill defensively and offensively, of course.
0-2 on Styles. Mississippi State still trying to unlock things with runners on base in scoring position. Just 2 for 28 in the series with runners aboard. Just 1 hit in 3 games with a runner in scoring position. They've stranded 3 in this game. They've left 22 in the series. Stiles strikes out. Boyer's third punch out, and it strands yet another Bulldog. We go to the bottom of the fifth. Emily Boyers giving her Rebels offense some time to get going.
T-Mobile's player of the game.
Doesn't look like it so far this weekend. 11 innings, 21 strikeouts. He's allowed just 2 hits, 3 base runners in those 11 frames. Through 1 pitch in this game, she allowed 1 hit. Through the remaining 58, she has gone 12 up and 12 down and struck out 7.
Yeah, and the impressive part is the first hit was the first batter of the game, and since then she's just rolled, settled in, and done a job on the circle.
Reisner smacks it through the left side. Snaps that string of a dozen in a row, set down by Faircloth, and Ole Miss has a leadoff base runner for the second time.
Number 26,
Leilana Applin now. See if Ole Miss wants to play a little small ball.
I think it's not a bad idea, especially with how well Alyssa Faircloth has been against them in game 1 and today. With not a lot of runners on base, starting to move towards the latter half of the softball game, you got to start thinking about moving runners over and trying to just play for that 1 run.
Outside to even the count, a ball and a strike on Applin, who struck out her first time. Just trying to move Reisner into scoring position.
That was a good take by Applin. A lot of times when hitters start to sacrifice bunt, they try to bunt pitches that are balls.
Bunted to first. Nice play, athletic tag. Put on by Ernstis. Reisner took a wide turn, but gets back to second base. Cassie Reisner was wandering around second, didn't know where the softball was, but she gets away with it.
So Cassie Reisner gets in there with her hand, luckily salvaging the first base runner that they've had since the first inning.
And Ole Miss finally has a runner in scoring position for Tenley Grisham.
Now this is going to be a good test for Tenley Grisham. The lefty-on-lefty matchup with Faircloth has been favoring Faircloth all season long. We saw it earlier coming into this game. She has a .16 ERA against lefties. Grisham is going to have to work hard to protect that outside corner.
It's a big pitch. That was borderline, and now instead of a ball and 2 strikes, it's 2-1 in favor of Grisham. Three balls and a strike.
Another good eye there from Grisham. Is that curveball going back to it when Alyssa Faircloth needs it? Almost a little too sweet.
Payoff. Grisham stays alive. You have to think any run for either team, especially at this late stage of the ball game, could be the game winner.
Yeah, absolutely. Every run is going to count now, but more importantly, becomes more important as you move to late in the game.
Outside ball 4. Just the second walk Faircloth has issued in the series. 11 innings, she allowed only 3 base runners. She's allowed 2 in a span of 3 batters here in the 5th.
Yes, and what's surprising even more is Alyssa Faircloth did this to a left-handed hitter. She's been so good against lefties. And she'll have another chance against Grace Thompson, another lefty hitter.
First time in the series, Ole Miss has had 2 runners on at the same time against Faircloth. Grace Thompson, the batter, in front of a changeup. In fact, it's the first time in the series against Faircloth, Ole Miss has had a runner in scoring position at all.
Yeah, this is a big opportunity for the bottom of the Ole Miss lineup. And the big question is can and will they capitalize on a missed pitch?
Thompson started only 1 game last year, has had a much bigger role this season. Off the end of the bat, 2 down. Both outs recorded exclusively by Ernstis at first base. And they've both been a little bit awkward. The first one on the bunt where she had to scoop it and put a tag on, and that time having to negotiate her way through the base path to catch the pop-up.
So let's take a look at it. Paige Ernstis running up to make the catch.
That'll find foul territory. Stiles gave it everything. Taylor Malvin, veteran center fielder.
A lot of experience out in center field and offensively.
Of course, Ole Miss would love to see Malvin knock Reisner in and give the Rebels the lead, but even if she can just find a way on base and pass the bat to the top of the order, Kennedy Bunker on deck.
Yeah, I think the big thing here, getting to a right-handed hitter here is going to be huge.
Chop to first, but foul. Nonetheless, it brings Faircloth a strike away from getting out of the inning. It's not an especially large state contingent here in Oxford, but you'll hear them if Faircloth gets one more strike. Over the circle, Romero goes the short way, and the inning is over. The Rebels threaten, but Strand 2. Still zeros on the board to the 6th. Okay, she's the ace. Well, they got Gould as well, who's pretty darn good. And both of these teams sending players to the AUSL in recent years.
Yeah, just a little pipeline here. Aaliyah Binford from Ole Miss played with the Carolina Blaze last year, and then you have Sacco and Chafin who played with the Talons. So the opportunity and the dream is alive for these collegiate athletes to be able to play post-college and professionally and take another step in their career.
Nadia Barbary leads off the 6th inning in a scoreless game. She'll be followed by Romero, Smith, and if anybody gets on base, Kiara Sells. Feels like this would be the inning for the Bulldogs. 2, 3, 4, and potentially Sells behind them.
Yeah, they have the good part of their lineup up in the top of the 6th here. Nadia Barbary, one of their big hitters.
Chance for them to see Emily Boyer for the 3rd time.
Yeah, that's a good point. 3rd time through the lineup. What kind of adjustments can they make versus Boyer? We've talked a lot about Alyssa Faircloth because of all the strikeouts, but not to be outdone, Emily Boyer has done an excellent job keeping runners off base.
To short, nicely done by Reisner.
So Barbary makes a good contact here, but Reisner drops to a knee with the backhand, a strong throw over to first base to get Barbary for the 1st out. You can see there she drops to the knee on the sliding backhand.
The ball's hit so hard, in some ways it does her a favor, right? It gives her that much more time to go to a knee and still have plenty of time to make the throw.
Yeah, and when you go to the knee, you get lower, so it's easier for you as a defender to keep your eyes behind the ball or behind your glove. It becomes a reactionary play rather than an angle play where you're trying to cover a hole.
Romero to first. That's speared by Llamas.
And if that's not a reaction play at all, I don't know what is. Just a great piece of glove work over there by Percy Llamas at first base with the backhand catch. You can see it right here, reaction in the reach. Touches first base just in case.
So quickly 2 out on a pair of very hard hit ground balls. Reisner and Llamas fielding their positions beautifully. And Troutman re-enters officially as the DP in the cleanup spot after she reached on a walk. And Mississippi State pinch ran for her last time up.
Yeah, Troutman has had some success this year. She has 4 home runs on the year, mostly coming in from the pinch hitting role.
Only her 22nd start of the year. Romero in the number 3 spot, starting for just the 26th time. Shows you how Mississippi State has been looking for other options in their lineup. Sunday, the Rally Cap crew will break down the SEC baseball and softball weekend with highlights, analysis, and interviews. They'll also get you set for the upcoming week with a look at the best matchups. Coverage begins at 6 Eastern, 5 Central, right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Nobody on, 2 out for Troutman. But to that point, in the 1, 2, and 5 spots, that's Stiles, Barbary, and Sells for Mississippi State, you have 3 players who have started every single game. Then in the 3, 4, and 6 holes, Romero, Troutman, and Ernstis, you have start number 26, 22, and 27, respectively.
Yeah, I think Mississippi State, knowing how good their pitching staff is and how important it is for them to put up at least a run earlier in the game or 2 runs earlier in the game, they've been trying to figure out who's going to be a consistent offensive leader for them outside of Barbary and Sells.
Two balls and a strike on Troutman.
So you take a look here at the defense against Troutman because she does have so much power, but check out these big gaps here between left field down the line and then in the right center gap.
And Troutman walks for the 2nd time in the last 2 plate appearances. She's aboard with 2 outs, and it extends the inning to Sells. You mentioned earlier, and it's a fair point, that not all walks are bad walks. That is not a great one with extending the inning for Sells, who otherwise would have been leading off the 7th.
Yeah, that one's a tough one because you're competitive to Troutman. You know she has good power and that she tends to be very clutch late in the game, but you have to find a way to throw some good pitches. Once that changeup wasn't called for a strike at the 3-1 or 2-1 count, excuse me, then it kind of puts you in a hole of how are you going to attack her. She ends up getting the walk.
Sells gets out in front. She had a walk her first time, a strikeout her 2nd time. The one bit of good news for Ole Miss is that Mississippi State already pinch ran for Troutman back in the 4th, so they're not going to use one here because, of course, that would rule out Troutman for the remainder of the game. Were she on leading off an inning? Maybe Samantha Ricketts might think about it, but with 2 outs, probably not worth it.
Yeah, 2 outs, probably not worth it late in the game. With 2 outs, not worth it. Especially from first base. You know, we might see a pinch runner if Troutman does move to 2nd base and you're in a 1st and 2nd situation here. But first, Kiara Sells has to figure that out, how to do that.
Shallow right, long run for Applin, but she is there, and the inning is over. Ole Miss still looking for a breakthrough.
see them really step up because they know if they play well in the SEC tournament, they have better chances of hosting and getting better seeding for postseason play. Day 1 of the SEC tournament, seeds 10 through 15 play each other. So seeds 6 through 9 get a 1-game bye and start on day 2. And then seeds 1 through 4 get a 2-game bye and start on day 3.
Top of the order here for Ole Miss in a scoreless game. Just 2 hits on the board for each team. We have not seen a base hit for extra bases. But Kennedy Bunker had a couple of home runs in last night's Game 2 win for Ole Miss. She had a first pitch single all the way back in the first inning off of Faircloth. She'll be followed by Pickens and Yamas in the 6th. You mentioned day 1. I think a lot of times people think, oh, just the bottom seeds playing that first day. That'll be kind of a snoozer. It's going to be the opposite. The stakes are going to be very, very high in some of those games for teams toward the bottom of the league. The stakes are high in every game in a single elimination format in different ways. Bunker stays alive at 2-2. But we know now with Missouri beating Tennessee earlier today that Mizzou will be exactly 500, needing 1 SEC win to ensure regional eligibility. Auburn is coming up after us against LSU after losing 25-0 in the first game of the doubleheader earlier today. Auburn still could potentially work their way into regional eligibility. Those 2 teams most of all on day 1, especially we know Missouri will be playing for their lives.
Yeah, and that is what makes the SEC tournament so interesting is because there's always teams that are going to get hot. There's going to be walk-off wins. There's going to be upsets. And you think these teams battle each other 3 games straight.
Shortstop Stiles makes the call on the catch.
In SEC play, these teams battle each other for 3 games straight. In many of these SEC games that we've called, we've seen it. They're 1-run games, they're comebacks. Sometimes the team that scores first isn't the team that wins. There's very competitive, high-level softball being played. And when you make it a single elimination and a winner-take-all, things get heated.
And it's one of the unique things about this league as well, that even those teams seeded 10 through 15, with the exception of Kentucky this year, have a chance, if they can remain eligible, play themselves in the right way, to be in regionals. This is a conference that expects not just to get its top half, of course, into postseason play, expects to get double digits. In fact, if the league potentially gets as few as 12 out of 15 in this year, it would almost be a disappointment to get 80% of the conference into a regional.
It just shows how tough this conference is, and I think it also shows how the conference realignment that we saw last year, bringing in more teams to the SEC, every single team goes into the SEC tournament, how it's affected the bottom half of the SEC and even the top half of the SEC, how it affects your overall record and how important it is to have a good preseason to be able to have some flexibility as you go into SEC play.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Mackenzie Pickens. Just missed inside, full count. The strikeouts have dried up these last handful of batters for Faircloth, much to the chagrin of Dogs fans. Pickens caught on a dive at third by Barbary.
Well, Nadia Barbary, are you ready to go or what? What a great diving play. Mackenzie Pickens gets all of this, but the reaction and the dive right on the base by third baseman Nadia Barbary. Excellent piece of defensive work there.
That was earmarked as our first extra base hit in this game. And Barbary takes it away. Strike 1 on Yamas. It is worth noting, though, Monica, this goes both ways for Boyer for Ole Miss and Faircloth for State. They're both starting to get hit a little bit harder here, even if they've been hard hit outs.
Yeah, and you expect that as a third time through the lineup. Now the hitters have seen all your pitches. They know what you're expecting to do. They're changing and adjusting their plan if it didn't work in game 1 or in their first at-bat or second at-bat.
Past the diving Barbary this time, an opposite field base hit for Yamas.
That is a big hit for Percy Yamas, who has struggled against Alyssa Faircloth all day. Going opposite field on this curveball, getting it by Nadia Barbary in the 5-6 hole.
Designated number 32, Maddie George.
Coach Jamie Traxel talked about Percy Yamas and Maddie George being this kind of combination of hitters here. Percy Yamas, the leadership and how calm she is, and Maddie George kind of, in some sense, becoming Percy Yamas's best friend in a way, learning from that leader. So the question is, does Maddie George continue to try to make an adjustment here with two tough changeups back to back from Alyssa Faircloth? She does not want to give her anything good.
George has struck out twice, and she's in an 0-2 hole. Pitch number 97 from Faircloth. Down in the dirt. She's thrown 97 in this game, nearly 13 innings in the series, and you saw the golden ticket recipient, Peja Gould, out of the Mississippi State bullpen, but going lefty on lefty, leaving Faircloth in. Off the hands, down the line, long run for everybody, and Romero gets there to end the inning. We head to the 7th, still nothing on the scoreboard. Emily Boyer has been terrific today and in this series. So too has Alyssa Faircloth from Mississippi State. But a lot of pitches for both of these hurlers in this game, a lot of innings in the series, a lot of eyeballs the batters have put on them. What would you be watching as a coach, Monica, to decide when has my starter, as good as they've both been, run out of gas?
Well, things that I look for on when to change a pitcher is I want to look about how many times are they going deep in the count, 3-2 counts. How many times are they going there? I also like to look at hard hits. You know, we just saw a couple just screamers off of Alyssa Faircloth from Ole Miss. How many hard hits are they giving up in stranding? And then I also like to think about just, are they still getting ahead in the count? You know, leading off with a ball or two balls is going to be a lot more difficult for pitchers to come back from as their pitch count rises. Now, the good thing with Emily Boyer for Ole Miss is that her changeup is really on today. It looks phenomenal right across the knees, and it's throwing off the Mississippi State hitters. A changeup isn't a pressure pitch. It's not a pitch that is going to put a lot of, and what I mean by that, it's going to put a lot of pressure on her body. She can throw it multiple times. It's not strenuous. It's not like a drop ball or a rise ball or a curve ball. A changeup is easier on your body to throw as you're relaxed through the finish of it.
6, 7, and 8 here for State. 2 balls and a strike on Paige Ernstis. Rivera and Keller will follow her. Boyer has limited the walks, just 3 of them in 6 innings today.
You know, in the last 2 innings, we've seen
down the right field line, fair ball, base hit. Potential go-ahead run on to lead off the State 7th.
So not a hard hit off Emily Boyer, just something, a little bit of jam by Paige Ernstis, but enough to be able to get it into right field.
Abby Grace Richardson takes over as the pinch runner at first base, representing the go-ahead run. I always think it's an underrated amount of pressure to be a pinch runner in this kind of situation, coming in cold after a couple of hours, not moving around a whole lot. And Des Rivera now the batter. She has a single and a pop up to first. Trying to sacrifice Richardson into scoring position, 0-1. The Bulldogs just 1 out of 8 with runners on base today. They have just 2 hits in the series with runners aboard.
Yeah, they're having opportunities with people on base, but haven't been able to push them around to score.
Bunted to third. Sacrifice successful. Thompson to Pickens, 5-4 in the scorebook. And the Mississippi State dugout loves it with Richardson now in scoring position and 1 out.
So Des Rivera shows bunt early, stays in her legs, and able to get a nice bunt here. A slow hop, so Grace Thompson isn't able to go to 2 on this bunt. She takes the out at first.
Keller to right field, playable for Applin. Unlucky for Mississippi State, a hard hit ball, but it's out number 2. Keller has looked like a threat to Boyer her last couple of trips to the plate.
Yeah, Keller gets all of this. She hits it really hard, but this is a huge out for Emily Boyer. Getting 2 outs with a runner on second base allows the defense to play back.
Ball 1 to the number 9 batter, Greta Grassel. Samantha Ricketts has loved what she's seen from Grassel recently. What a big spot for the sophomore.
A good block back there by Kennedy Bunker, keeping the ball in front on that changeup that hit the dirt, not allowing the runner to advance to third.
Toward the left field line, Grisham retires the side, and Ole Miss will have a chance to walk it off when we come back. Reesner, Applin, and Grisham scheduled to bat. 0-3-0 on both the top and bottom of the scoreboard as we head to the home 7th. A chance for Ole Miss to walk this one off, just as they did last night in Game 2 when Kennedy Bunker christened the newly named Alyssa and Mark Bourne Stadium here in Oxford with a walk-off homer.
Yeah, how exciting, and to be able to walk it off on your home field the day that your field is named is pretty impressive. But the home field advantage, will it pay off for Ole Miss today in the bottom of the 7th?
Just 3 hits for each team, nothing but singles. A combined 1 for 16 with runners on base. 5, 6, and 7. Reesner, Applin, and Grisham scheduled for the Rebels. And Reesner down 0-1 to Alyssa Faircloth.
Well, I think she wanted it on that first swing there. Big hack, big daddy hack, or should I say mama hack, from Cassie Reesner on pitch 1.
Little defensive shuffling for Mississippi State, trying to force extra innings. Kalani Sells has taken over in center field. That's pushed Keller over to right. And Abby Grace Richardson, the pinch runner in the top of this inning, has remained in the game at first base. One and 2. Reesner got a piece. Had a ground out to second. And a 5th inning single. Faircloth's 103rd pitch. She has thrown as many as 122 in a game this year. That came back in mid-April against A&M. Reesner to short center, and it drops. Potential winning run aboard to lead off the 7th for Ole Miss.
So just off the hands from Cassie Reesner, she takes no step on this hit, but shortens up and is able to get enough to drop it into shallow center field in front of Kalani Sales.
Faircloth only gave up 1 hit in the series opener on Thursday. She's allowed 4 in this game, 2 of them to Cassie Reesner. Applin bunts to third. Barbary goes for second. It gets away. The throw was there in time, but it was off the bag, and Stiles could not pull it in.
So this bunt is a little bit hard from Applin. It allows Barbary to make a throw, but she does not move her feet, so the ball tails and gets away from Romero at second base.
And now the Rebels have 2 on with nobody out. Ole Miss threatening for a second straight walk-off to snap a 3-series losing streak to Mississippi State.
Now back for the Rebels, left fielder, number 25, Tiffany Grisham.
Grisham pops up a bunt. After getting a gift from State, Ole Miss gives it back.
That's a big out for Faircloth on the mound. A first pitch popped up bunt. Things just got a little bit harder for Ole Miss's offense, not being able to move those runners.
The prior bunt from Applin went in the scorebook as a fielder's choice and an E5. That was the first Mississippi State error in 7 games. Rachel Connors now will pinch hit with 2 on and 1 out. Ole Miss is all about simple things done well. The popped up bunt could burn the Rebels in this inning, but still the winning run in scoring position. Smack to right center. A pinch hit walk-off homer for Rachel Connors.
Rachel Connors, oh my goodness. In a game where Alyssa Faircloth has dominated lefties, Rachel Connors said, no, not today, not me. I'm gonna take this all the way. She walks off a 3-run bomb off of Alyssa Faircloth.
Just the 74th collegiate at bat of Connors' career. Just her 4th home run. And it gives Ole Miss a series win with back-to-back walk-off jacks.
Yeah, Rachel Connors off the bat. She knew it was gone, coming off the bench, stepping up for their team. Thoroughly excited, as everyone should be, that roots for the Rebels. What an incredible piece of hitting off of Alyssa Faircloth.
What a series this was. A pair of 1-run games. The only non-1-run game ends on a walk-off, and for the first time in 5 years, the Rebels take a series over their in-state rivals. That's a way to get going into mayhem.
Yes, if there's no better way for the Ole Miss Rebels to get ready to go into mayhem in the postseason in the SEC tournament.
Ole Miss comes back from getting shut out in the series opener Thursday at a 1-0 loss. Kennedy Bunker a walk-off homer in Game 2 last night. Rachel Connors a pinch hit 3-run shot to win it today. For Monica Abbott, Nate Gatter saying so long for our entire crew here in Oxford. Let's go to the studio at Peter Burns.